Here's a third-person story expanding Part 1 in about 800 words, using simple English. The stars twinkled in the night sky above the small town of Pine Creek, Montana. Most of the town's 3,000 residents were asleep. Only a few lights remained on in houses scattered across the valley. Far above Earth, 12 species from different planets watched humans with curious eyes. They called themselves the Galactic Council. They had found Earth 5 years ago but kept their distance. They thought humans were interesting but primitive. Humans had only reached their moon and sent a few robots to nearby planets. Earth is not ready for contact, said the council leader. They must develop faster than light travel first. But Commander Day of the Vexari did not agree. The Vexari looked almost like tall, thin humans with purple skin and 6 fingers on each hand. They were known across the galaxy for their pride and advanced technology. These humans are developing too quickly, Day told his crew of 5 scientists. We need to study them up close. The council forbids direct contact, said Tay, his second-in-command. We won't make contact, Day replied with a smile. We will observe them secretly. Their ship was small but advanced. It could bend light around itself to become invisible. It could also fly silently, without making any noise or heat that humans could detect. The Vexari ship entered Earth's atmosphere at night. It floated down toward the sleeping town of Pine Creek. Perfect test subjects, Day said, looking at the town through their viewing screens. Simple, rural humans, not their scientists or military. But something went wrong. As they flew over a farm at the edge of town, their stealth system started making strange noises. What's happening? Day demanded. There's something in Earth's atmosphere interfering with our cloaking system, Tay said, pressing buttons quickly. On the farm below, Jun Kim was still awake in his workshop. He had once been a top electronics engineer in Seoul before moving to Montana to farm and live a quieter life. He couldn't sleep and was fixing his old radio when he heard a strange humming sound from outside. Jun stepped onto his porch and looked up. At first he saw nothing. Then the air seemed to ripple like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Something was there. Jun grabbed his phone and called his neighbor. Wake up. There's something strange in the sky above my farm. Soon, a dozen neighbors gathered in Jun's yard, all staring up at the distortion in the air. It must be some kind of aircraft, Jun said. But not like anything I've ever seen. The neighbors talked excitedly. Some thought it was a secret military test. Others wondered if it was something else entirely. Meanwhile, in the ship, the Vexari crew worked frantically. Our stealth system is failing, Tay reported. The humans can see us. Impossible, Day shouted. Their technology is too primitive. They're gathering below us, another crew member said. They're looking right at us. Jun ran back to his workshop. His mind raced with possibilities. If this was an aircraft using some kind of cloaking technology, it might be vulnerable to electromagnetic interference. I need to build an EMP, he muttered to himself. Working quickly, Jun connected his old tractor battery to a coil of wire and several capacitors he had in his workshop. He attached this makeshift device to his tractor's engine. Outside, more townspeople arrived. Some brought cameras and binoculars. Everyone stand back, Jun yelled as he drove his tractor into the yard. I'm going to try something. He revved the engine to maximum power and activated his improvised electromagnetic pulse generator. The tractor's engine roared, then made a strange whining noise before sparks flew from Jun's device. High above, the Vexari ship shuddered. All systems failing, Tay shouted as lights flickered inside the ship. Impossible, Day repeated, his purple face now turning a darker shade. Their technology is too simple. The ship's engines sputtered and died. Without power, it began to descend slowly toward the ground. Emergency landing procedures, Day ordered. On the ground, the townspeople watched in amazement as the invisible shape became visible. A sleek silver craft about the size of a bus appeared, in the air, glowing with strange blue lights around its edges. That's not one of ours, whispered a former Air Force mechanic in the crowd. The ship touched down gently in Jun's cornfield. Everyone stood silent, staring. Did you know your tractor could do that? someone asked June. I had no idea it would actually work, June admitted, surprised at his own success. Inside the ship, Commander Day looked at the readings on their screens. How did they disable our ship, he demanded. Scan that device they used. After analyzing the simple electromagnetic pulse generator, the Vexari scientists looked at each other in disbelief. They disabled our advanced ship, Tay said slowly, with parts from a primitive farm vehicle and household electronics. Day stared at the screens, showing the humans gathering outside. Perhaps, he said quietly, we have underestimated these humans. The morning sun rose over Pine Creek as the townspeople gathered around the alien ship in June's cornfield. No one had slept much. Some people had set up chairs and brought coffee, others took photos with their phones. A few kept their distance, watching nervously from the road. Inside the disabled craft, Commander Day paced back and forth. The ship's main systems remained offline after the electromagnetic pulse. We must establish dominance, Day told his crew. These humans must fear us. Is that wise? Asked Tay. The council protocols? The protocols no longer matter, Day interrupted. We're stranded. Prepare your weapons. In town, Sue Lee was already working. The garage where she fixed cars was closed today. Sue had served 10 years in the Army before, moving to Pine Creek. When she heard about the strange ship, she drove straight to June's farm. This is not a movie, Sue told the crowd firmly. This is real. We need organization. Sue quickly divided the townspeople into groups. Some would watch the ship from different angles. Others would prepare supplies. A few with hunting experience would stand guard with rifles just in case. We don't know if they're friendly, Sue explained. We need to be ready for anything. Just as Sue finished giving instructions, the ship's door opened with a soft hiss. The crowd fell silent. A tall, purple-skinned figure stepped out, followed by 5 others. They wore shiny uniforms and carried strange devices that looked like weapons. Commander Day raised his voice translator to his mouth. Humans, his words, came through in English. We are the Vexari. You will return control of our ship immediately or face consequences. Sue stepped forward. She showed no fear, though her heart beat faster. You landed in our town without permission, she replied calmly. Who are you and what do you want? Commander Day looked surprised that someone would question him. We are an advanced species. Your primitive weapons cannot harm us. Release our ship or we will demonstrate our power. To prove his point, Day aimed his device at an old tractor. A blue beam shot out and the tractor's metal frame twisted and melted. Gasps came from the crowd. Some people stepped back. But Sue didn't move. If you were so advanced, she said, your ship wouldn't have been disabled by our primitive technology. Day's purple face darkened with anger. Sue turned to the townspeople. Everyone move back. Form a perimeter around the field. The crowd followed her instructions, spreading out to surround the ship from a safe distance. Some people brought their trucks and parked them in a circle, creating barriers. Meanwhile, Hyun Park watched from nearby. Hyun had worked for a telecommunications company before retiring to Pine Creek. The alien technology fascinated him. While everyone focused on the confrontation, Hyun slipped away to examine pieces of debris that had fallen from the ship during its emergency landing. Back at the standoff, Commander Day grew more frustrated. You have 1 hour to clear this area, he threatened, or we will use force. You're outnumbered, Sue replied, and you're visitors on our planet. We suggest cooperation instead of threats. The aliens retreated into their ship to discuss their options. Sue used this time to strengthen their position. Farmers brought more vehicles to block possible escape routes. Others brought ropes, nets, and tools that might be useful. An hour passed. The ship's door opened again. This is your final warning, Commander Day announced. But before he could continue, a loud bang came from behind him. One of the townspeople had used a hunting rifle to shoot a tree branch directly above the ship. The heavy branch fell onto the ship's open door, jamming it. More people moved in with ropes and chains, quickly securing the branch in place. The door couldn't close now. Dave fired his weapon, but Sue had anticipated this. Several people used large mirrors from a local shop to reflect the beam back toward the ship, causing the aliens to duck for cover. "Now!" Sue shouted. People rushed forward with fire hoses connected to water tanks on farm trucks. They sprayed the aliens with water, confusing them and making their weapons malfunction. Within minutes, the surprised Vexari crew was surrounded, their weapons disabled by the simple water. "How is this possible?" Day sputtered, his translator barely working through the water. "Human adaptability," Sue answered, "something you clearly underestimated." That evening, as the aliens sat under guard in a makeshift containment area, Hyun approached Sue with excitement. "I figured out parts of their communication system," he said, showing her components he had reassembled. "It's based on principles similar to our satellite technology, just more advanced." "Can we use it?" Sue asked. "I think so," Hyun replied. "We can send a message to whoever these Vexari report to." Working through the night, Hyun connected the alien components to human computers. By morning, they had a working transmitter. Sue composed a simple message. "To the leaders of the Vexari and any Galactic Council, your scientific team attempted unauthorized contact with Earth. They are unharmed but contained. Return them safely to their home where we keep them. We await your response." The message was sent into space. The people of Pine Creek waited, wondering if anyone would answer. In the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, 12 representatives sat in stunned silence. The message from Earth had just finished playing on the large screen before them. "Impossible," whispered the Zentari representative, his blue scales shimmering under the lights. "Humans captured a Vexari research team?" The head of the council, an ancient being named Ulo, raised a hand for silence. "Commander Day's unauthorized mission has created a diplomatic crisis," he said slowly. "We must respond carefully." At the far end of the table, General Kai of the Morites slammed his fist down. The Morites were a warrior species known for their direct approach to problems. "We should send warships immediately," Kai shouted. "These humans must learn their place in the galaxy." Many council members murmured in agreement. The Vexari representative's face showed deep embarrassment mixed with anger. "Violence is not the answer," said a soft voice. All heads turned toward Mina, representative of the Novan species. The Novans were known throughout the galaxy as peacekeepers and diplomats. "Let me approach these humans," Mina suggested. "They have not harmed the Vexari crew. They wish to talk. This shows wisdom." "Wisdom?" General Key laughed harshly. "They are barely out of their stone age. They have not even colonized their own solar system. Yet they disabled and captured an advanced Vexari ship," Ulo pointed out. "This suggests they are more capable than we believed." The council hall filled with loud arguments. Some wanted immediate military action. Others urged caution. The debate continued for hours. Finally, Ulo called for silence again. "Before we decide, we should review all information about humans. Jin has been studying Earth for several years. Jin, please share your findings." A small gray-skinned being stepped forward. Jin had dedicated his career to studying newly discovered species across the galaxy. "Humans are unlike any species we have encountered," Jin began, projecting images of Earth onto the screen. "Their technology develops at an astonishing rate. Just 200 years ago, they traveled by horse. Now they have visited their moon and sent robots to other planets." The council members watched as Jin showed more images. Humans building cities, fighting wars, creating art, and helping each other during disasters. "They are capable of terrible violence," Jin continued, showing images of human wars. "They have fought countless conflicts among themselves. They have created weapons that could destroy their entire planet." General Kai nodded with satisfaction. "As I said, dangerous. But," Jin added, showing new images of humans rescuing others during floods, sharing food with strangers, and building hospitals, they also show extraordinary compassion. They risk their lives for others, even for animals. They form deep bonds of friendship and loyalty. Jin's final slides showed human scientific achievements, art, music, and literature. Most remarkably, Jin concluded, they question their own nature constantly. They write books about being better. They debate ethics and morality. They recognize their flaws and many work to overcome them. The council chamber remained quiet as members considered Jin's report. Finally, Ulo spoke. We have two options. We can treat humans as a threat and respond with force, or we can approach them with respect and open diplomatic relations. General Kai stood up again. I still believe we should prepare for conflict. Humans seem unpredictable and potentially dangerous. All the more reason to avoid provoking them. Mina responded calmly. Let me go to Earth. I will negotiate the return of the Vexari team and establish peaceful first contact. Ulo called for a vote. After tense moments, the majority supported Mina's diplomatic mission. However, they also approved General Key's request to position ships near Earth's solar system as a precaution. It is decided, Ulo announced. Ambassador Mina will travel to Earth immediately. She will negotiate with the humans for the release of the Vexari team. As the council session ended, Jin approached Mina privately. Be careful on Earth, Jin warned. Humans are remarkably perceptive. They will sense any dishonesty. I plan to be completely honest, Mina replied. Do you think they are ready to join galactic society? Jin considered the question carefully. They have great potential but also great capacity for conflict. If they channel their energy toward exploration and cooperation, they could become valuable allies. If they feel threatened, they could become dangerous enemies. Mina nodded thoughtfully. Then I must make sure they do not feel threatened. As she prepared for her journey to Earth, Mina reviewed everything about human customs and communication. She knew that her mission carried enormous responsibility. The future relationship between humans and the Galactic Council would depend on her success. Meanwhile, General Key gathered his military advisors. Prepare for all scenarios, he ordered. Ambassador Mina may fail. If that happens, we must be ready to act. The future of Earth's place in the galaxy hung in the balance. The sky above Pine Creek turned bright with strange lights as Ambassador Mina's ship descended. Unlike Commander Day's stealth approach, Mina had announced her arrival in advance. The townspeople gathered at the landing site, a cleared field near where the Vexari ship had crashed. Sue stood at the front, chosen by the town to represent them. Stay calm, Sue told the nervous crowd. This is a diplomatic mission, not an invasion. The ship that landed was elegant in silver, shaped like a teardrop. It made almost no sound as it touched the ground. The door opened, revealing a soft golden light from within. Ambassador Mina stepped out alone. She looked almost human except for her light blue skin and large, kind eyes. She wore simple white robes and carried no visible weapons. Greetings, people of Earth, Mina said in perfect English. I am Ambassador Mina of the Novan species and representative of the Galactic Council. I come in peace to resolve the situation with the Vexari research team. Sue stepped forward and bowed slightly. Welcome to Earth, Ambassador Mina. I am Sue Lee, chosen to speak for our town and for now our planet. Mina looked surprised. You have no global government representatives? We thought it best to keep this situation contained for now, Sue explained. If we involved our world governments, this would become complicated. Mina nodded with understanding. A wise decision. May we speak in private? The town had prepared the local community center for the meeting. Inside, June, Hyun, and a few others joined Sue at a large table. Mina sat across from them, alone but calm. First, Mina began. The Galactic Council offers its sincere apology for Commander Day's unauthorized mission. He violated our most important rule, no contact with pre-spacefaring civilizations. Yet here you are, Sue pointed out. Mina smiled sadly. Yes, Commander Day's actions forced our hand. Now we must make the best of this situation. We want answers before we release your people, Sue said firmly. Why were they really here? Are there others watching us? The Council has observed Earth from a distance for many years, Mina admitted. We monitor thousands of developing worlds. Commander Day became concerned about how quickly humans develop technology. He wanted to study you more closely. Hyun, who had been quiet until now, placed several devices on the table. Like how I studied these? Mina's eyes widened. On the table were parts of the Vexari ship's communication system, navigation equipment, and energy cells. But they had been modified, combined with human technology in ways that shouldn't have been possible so quickly. How did you understand these systems? Mina asked, clearly disturbed. The principles aren't so different from our own technology, Hyun explained. Just more advanced. Once we figured out the basics, we could adapt. Mina looked genuinely worried now. This is unexpected. It took other species decades to reverse engineer Vexari technology. Humans are good at solving puzzles, June added simply. The negotiations continued for hours. Mina offered medical technology in exchange for the Vexari crew. Sue countered by asking for knowledge about clean energy. They discussed terms back and forth, each impressed by the other's skill. You negotiate like you've dealt with alien species before, Mina commented. Sue smiled. I've negotiated with difficult people all my life. The principles are the same. Find common ground, understand the other side's needs, and work toward mutual benefit. By evening, they had reached an agreement. The Vexari crew would be released. In exchange, the Council would share knowledge about renewable energy technology and medical advancements. The Council also agreed to establish a small diplomatic outpost near Earth's moon, where controlled cultural and scientific exchanges could take place. As they finalized the details, Sue made an unexpected proposal. We want to learn about other cultures in the galaxy, she said, and we want others to learn about us. I propose a cultural exchange program where representatives from Earth can visit Council worlds, and Council representatives can visit Earth. Mina hesitated. That is unusual for a species at your technological level. If we're going to be neighbors in this galaxy, Sue replied, we should get to know each other properly. After some thought, Mina agreed to bring the proposal to the Council. As they walked outside to announce the agreement to the waiting townspeople, Mina spoke quietly to Sue. You should know that not everyone on the Council welcomes Earth's emergence into galactic society. Some fear your species. Why? Sue asked. Because in just a few days you captured an advanced alien ship, adapted its technology, and negotiated as equals with a galactic power, Mina explained. Most species take centuries to accomplish what you've done in a week. Sue looked up at the stars. We have much to learn, she said. But we also have much to offer. Yes, Mina agreed. That is precisely what worries them. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with excitement. Representatives from 12 advanced civilizations filled the curved seats around the central speaking area. Today was historic, the first time humans would address the Council. Sue Lee stood in the preparation room adjusting the simple but elegant blue suit she had chosen for this moment. 6 months had passed since the events in Pine Creek. Those months had been filled with secret meetings, careful information exchanges, and preparation for this day. Are you ready, Ambassador Lee? Asked Mina, who had become Sue's friend and guide in galactic politics. As ready as anyone can be to represent an entire planet, Sue replied with a small smile. The massive doors to the Council chamber opened. Sue walked in with her small team, June, Hyun, and 3 government officials who had been brought into the secret after careful vetting. They had traveled here on a Novan ship, crossing distances that human spacecraft could not yet manage. The chamber fell silent as Sue approached the central platform. Above her, holographic displays showed images of Earth, its blue oceans, green forests, and sprawling cities. Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Council, Sue began, her voice clear and strong. I stand before you not just as Earth's first ambassador, but as a symbol of humanity's desire to join the greater community of intelligent life. Sue spoke for 20 minutes. She talked about human history, both the good and the bad. She acknowledged humanity's violent past, but emphasized our capacity for growth and learning. She spoke of art, music, and literature. She described how humans had gone from the first powered flight to landing on the moon in just 66 years. We are young as a spacefaring species, Sue concluded. We have much to learn, but we also bring fresh perspectives, creativity, and determination. We ask not for special treatment, but for the opportunity to prove ourselves worthy of membership in this ancient and honored council. When she finished, the chamber remained silent for several seconds. Then, one by one, representatives began to tap their hands on their desks, the council's version of applause. Ulo, the head of the council, rose from his seat. Never in my 400 years as council leader have I heard such an honest and compelling first address, he said. The council will now vote on Earth's application for probationary membership. The vote was not unanimous. General Key and several military-minded representatives voted against accepting Earth, but the majority approved. Earth is granted probationary membership in the Galactic Council, Ulo announced. For a period of 50 years, Earth will have access to limited galactic technology, cultural exchanges, and trade agreements. Full membership will be considered at the end of this period. Sue bowed respectfully. Humanity thanks you for this opportunity. We will not disappoint you. The public session ended with more desk tapping and friendly conversations. Sue and her team were congratulated by many representatives. Even some who had voted against Earth's membership approached with respectful greetings. But later that day, after the humans had been escorted to their quarters, the council reconvened in a private session. They are impressive, these humans, said the Zentari representative, but also concerning. In just 6 months, General Kai pointed out, they went from their first alien contact to standing in this chamber. They learned our languages, adapted to our customs, and prepared a perfect diplomatic presentation. Their technology is advancing at an unprecedented rate, added another member. Since discovering parts of the Vexari ship, they have already improved their energy systems and communication networks. Ulo raised his hand for attention. We have welcomed them as probationary members, and we will honor that decision. However, I propose we issue a confidential directive to all spacefaring civilizations. The directive was drafted, debated, and finally approved. It read, Warning, human ingenuity and adaptability exceed all known species. While peaceful contact is encouraged, approach with diplomatic caution. Report all human activities beyond their solar system immediately to the Council. Technology transfers must remain strictly limited to approved categories. As the directive was being transmitted across the galaxy, Sue stood at the viewing window of her quarters, looking out at the stars. Behind her, June and Hyun were examining the schematics for more efficient space engines, a gift from the Council. Do you think they trust us? Hyun asked. Not yet, Sue replied honestly. But they respect us. That's a start. On dozens of worlds throughout the galaxy, scholars and researchers began detailed studies of human history. They watched in fascination, and alarm as recordings showed how quickly humans had progressed from stone tools to computers, from horse-drawn carriages to spacecraft. They invented flight, split the atom, and reached their moon all within a single century, a Vexari researcher told his students. Now they sit in the council chambers as probationary members. No species in recorded history has evolved so rapidly. In Dai, his private office, General Key studied military reports about Earth. Despite his initial opposition, he found himself developing a grudging respect for humans. They bear watching, he told his staff. But perhaps in time they will become valuable allies rather than threats. As the first human delegation prepared to return to Earth, the galaxy held its breath, wondering what these strange, quick-learning creatures would do next.